All right, let's dive into something that could completely reshape the American housing market. And no, we're not talking about interest rates or the usual market trends. We're talking about an invisible crisis that could make millions of homes pretty much worthless. And it's hiding right under our feet.
Look, this isn't some plot from a sci-fi movie. It's a real, stark warning, and it's based on hard data from federal agencies. What it means is that for millions of homeowners, the most valuable thing they own is built on a foundation that is literally and quietly running out of water.
So we're going to kick off our countdown with 5 cities where the warning signs are already flashing. And trust me, we're starting in a place you're probably not expecting.
Kicking us off at number 10, Orlando, Florida. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Florida? But its lush green landscape is actually hiding a really serious water problem just beneath the surface. It's a classic case of appearances being very, very deceiving.
What you've got here is basically a perfect storm. Every single day, Orlando is overdrawing its water bank account. And as the pressure underground drops, salt water from the ocean actually starts to creep in, permanently ruining the fresh water. All this while 1,000 new people move in every single week, all of them needing water. Next up, let's head to number 9, Atlanta, a huge, major city that when it comes to geography really drew the short straw. It's a massive place built on a surprisingly tiny and fragile water system. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures Atlanta's unique problem. See, unlike cities with these huge underground water reserves, its fate is tied almost completely to surface water that it has to constantly fight over. So the key thing to get here is that this isn't some far-off future problem. Back in 2007, the city almost went completely dry. Today, it's in constant legal battles with its neighbors over water rights. Atlanta's always just one bad drought or one bad court decision away from a total crisis. Coming in at number 8, San Antonio. The risk is all about one thing: concentration. The city's growth, its property values, they're all chained to a single delicate source called the Edwards Aquifer. And this right here, this is the fundamental math problem facing not just San Antonio, but all of Texas. These numbers just don't add up. It's a dangerous imbalance between explosive growth and shrinking resources. You just can't have 70% more people with 18% less water without something, somewhere, breaking. At number 7, we've got Denver. You know, that amazing Rocky Mountain lifestyle is a huge draw for people. But what they might not realize is that it's directly connected to a collapsing river, a lifeline that 40 million people across 7 states depend on. This chart just lays out the stark reality. The Colorado River, which gives Denver about half its water, has seen its flow drop by a staggering 20% over the last century. And let me be clear, this isn't just a temporary dip. Scientists are calling it a long, slow collapse. Now, with our number 6 city, this is where the story shifts from just being alarming to being genuinely dangerous. For the folks in Salt Lake City, the threat isn't just about not having enough water. It's about a massive public health crisis waiting to happen.
This is what makes Salt Lake City's situation so unique and, frankly, terrifying. As the lake shrinks, it's exposing this lake bed that's laced with decades of toxins. So the problem here isn't just a lack of water, it's that the very air people breathe could become hazardous.
All right, we're cracking the top 5. In these cities, the consequences we're talking about are no longer some theory. They are tangible, they are immediate, and in some cases they are physically changing the shape of the land itself. Just look at that number, 28 feet. It represents a shocking geological failure that's happening right now in our number 5 city, Fresno, California. It's almost hard to wrap your head around, but it is real. It's a phenomenon called subsidence. Decades of overpumping groundwater have caused the actual land to collapse, in some spots by the height of a 3-story building. This process is physically tearing apart bridges and canals, and even worse, it's permanently destroying the ground's ability to ever store water again in the future. You know, the water crisis in our number 4 city, Albuquerque, really began with a huge miscalculation. For decades, the city just grew and grew, believing it was sitting on top of a massive aquifer, one they compared to one of the Great Lakes. But the reality, which they discovered in the 90s, was that it was way, way smaller, and irreversible damage had already been done. Coming in at number 3 is Los Angeles. Now, in LA, the problem isn't a single thing going wrong. It's a terrifying convergence of crises all happening at the same time across all of its imported water systems, the very systems that allowed a megacity to even exist there in the first place. As you can see from this table,
all three major lifelines that keep Los Angeles alive are under extreme strain at the exact same moment. It's a triple threat that money alone can't fix, and it's forcing millions of people into water restrictions they've never seen before. Our number 2 city, Las Vegas, represents one of the boldest bets against nature ever made. But that entire bet and the survival of the whole city, it all hinges on one single rapidly shrinking reservoir.
These steps show a city that's in pure survival mode. Lake Mead is vanishing. So what do? They spent over $1 billion to build a third straw, which is basically a drain at the very bottom of the bathtub, as a last-ditch effort to get every last drop of water out. This is emergency infrastructure, plain and simple.
And now, we've arrived at the top of our list. The clearest, most official warning sign we have that the era of unlimited, cheap growth in the American desert is officially over.
Okay, so to really understand just how serious the situation in Phoenix is, you first have to understand what this certificate is. For decades, this thing was the green light for developers. It was a promise from the state of Arizona that there was enough water for new homes. So here it is, the bombshell. The state itself has looked at the data and has concluded there isn't enough groundwater for all the projected growth. They have slammed on the brakes, effectively freezing large-scale suburban sprawl. This is a government agency admitting the water isn't there anymore. Look, this countdown is more than just a list of cities in trouble. It's about a new, fundamental variable that homeowners, buyers, and investors now have to factor into every single real estate decision.
And this right here, this is the ultimate takeaway. The granite countertops, the fancy finishes, none of it matters if you can't turn on the tap. This is the fundamental, unbreakable link between water security and the financial value of your home.
And that's a question that goes way beyond just these 10 cities. It's urging all of us to look a lot deeper at the invisible foundation of our most valuable asset. Because in the 21st century, water is wealth, and scarcity is risk.